Great, thanks. Another question related to animal production. Has animal welfare approved process helped you? Janice says she's
Oh,
been considering it. She likes the philosophy, but she feels like it's a lot of humps to jump through.
oh, great question. I would absolutely encourage her to embark on the animal welfare program. For us, it has been an absolute important way to distinguish our practices from others that are raising pastured pork. So on one side, it's been really great from a marketing standpoint, but even more than that, the staff and the assistance that we've received through animal welfare in terms of understanding what truly are good welfare practices has been really important, just from an educational standpoint. The other thing that's really fantastic about it is truly a neutral third-party certification that of your practices and the educational component that they can help you with in terms of having when inspectors are out there and looking at and how your operation is going has been really helpful for us. So it costs absolutely nothing to the producer, which is phenomenal to me. But every year we have them come out and inspect. There's 2 inspections, one for our slaughter practices and one for our actual livestock and husbandry practices. And they are not as cumbersome as it might seem. And they're very willing, all the inspectors and the folks that we've worked with have just been really helpful in developing our plan to make sure that it meets their goals, but also is in the best interest of our pigs. So I would definitely encourage participation in that. I think it's a really important way to distinguish your pork, as well as to become more educated in good and humane methods.
Thank you, April.
Mm-hmm.
Ron also says thank you for the size of your pig operation. Letting him know
I
about
have
that.
I have a lot more if anybody wants to share, so have them email or call me.
Okay. Um, we have one other question that just came in from Lori, and she asks how the regulations for organic farming affect the pork production.
Oh, okay, that's a good question. I won't take up too much time so we can get back to the holistic planning, but we run our vegetables as a separate operation from our hogs, and so we do not use our heritage, our manure from our hogs on our vegetable fields. We compost and use other sources of fertility. So we keep our livestock operation actually separate from the organic certification on our vegetables. So we maintain that for our produce, and then we feel real strongly about the animal welfare program for our heritage pork. We do have, I mean, all of the grain and everything that we're feeding our hogs is certified organic, ironically, but for us that was just a way to avoid some of the extra paperwork required in maintaining all the records on the hog side, and the welfare piece of it is really most important to me. So that's how we do keep them separate.
Great. Thank you. Um, let's go ahead and turn it back over to Craig, and we'll have another question and answer period at the end of the webinar. Thanks again, April.
No,
Yes,
you're
thanks.
welcome.
Yes,
Thanks for inviting me.
yes, thank you, Eric. Well, that was very good. And I just want to point out a couple of things as people went through her presentation. There was a couple of things that I think people may have caught or may have not. But when she talked about clarifying the problem when you're going to evaluate a decision, that is a key step. And that, she talked quite a bit about how she went through that process of looking at systems and so because it's really key to get to understanding what that root cause of the problem is. And sometimes it can take a lot of effort, as April talked about in that process of evaluating, as employees, the weak link, and figuring out if that really was going to solve the challenge that they were facing. So it can take some time, and and to clarify, because if you try to evaluate a decision without having that problem clarified, you might have as they were talking about, trying to understand where they were, what was the true answer, what the true challenge there. It took some thinking, or they said, okay, yes, it is employees. Without going to that further analysis, they'd have spent the money and still would have been dealing with an issue for them. So it takes some thought and brainstorming or going back and forth or trying to figure out what that is. And one way another option is a way of looking at what really that cause and effect filter that you can use. And that's, what is are you dealing, is this action you're taking dealing with the root cause of the problem? And some of the questions that you can ask, there's another method of doing that. It's called the 5 whys. And if you think you come up with the answer, you ask yourself why, and you keep digging deeper into evaluating that. When she first said, okay, it's employees, well, then they looked at, they had production there, they weren't getting harvested. Well, then maybe it is employees. Well, then they said, why is it really a lack of labor? Well, it's really lack of being efficient. Some of the efficiencies that they were looking at. How can they be more efficient with their time and themselves? And they didn't want to get into managing employees. So it's really trying to go through that process of digging deeper and deeper into understanding that question. I appreciate April for going into that depth of explanation, because that is really a key of making coming to the solving a challenging problem, is to really understanding the root cause of that. And so I was going to go on a little bit more, and we could just kind of do a little example. April went in depth on an example of what the weak link financial for her was, and so I'm going to go a little bit into an example for me and my operation. I have a goat. Since I raise goats, the primary use of those goats is use them for vegetation management work. Take them around and do weed control and brush control and various aspects of it. So looking at that enterprise and trying to understand where I was at, what I needed when I first started out, trying to figure out where was my weak link, and one of right now my weak link is I've got more time than I have projects at some point, and I've got a number of repeat clients. So, but then it's one of those things you're looking at. Okay, what can I do? The marketing is really my weak link as far as being able to have enough. I've got more time on the calendar than I have projects, so I'm figuring out ways that I can maybe market my business a little more and develop more clients. Some aspects of that, there's different ways. So marketing was my weak link, and possible solutions to that is looking at initially was looking at developing a website and maybe looking at opportunities for advertising in print media, and then maybe using social media to get to where Facebook and Twitter and some of those aspects of trying to get the word out about the business and services that I provide. And again, we talked about, the question was related to how do you allocate those expenses and keeping that profit level and prioritize expenses. And this weak link is what we call a wealth generating expense. By addressing that weak link, you potentially most likely are going to generate new income. And that would be a wealth generating expense, and that would be a priority to fund that expense. So if you have developing a website, there's different ways that you can do that. So this is where you're coming into evaluating the decision. We got several options for addressing that weak link on marketing. Well, we could develop a website. Well, we could do that. I could do that. I could go online and I could use templates to develop that website, and it would cost me my time to do that, and also how interested and how technology savvy I am to do that, and how frustrated I would be if I do it, trying to get that work done, and if I would be better use of my time elsewhere, or should I hire somebody to develop that website. So those are some of the things that you look at when you're using that marginal reaction test. And what we ended up doing, I developed the website initially, and then as we got more into the business, been doing the business for about 10 years, and then we got more farther into it a couple of years, then we decided to actually rethink. Again, it was to facilitate that, get a better website, and we hired somebody to enhance that to be a little more sharper than what I could do with my skills and abilities. So, and then there's other ways to get, to address that weak link. And earned media is where you help a reporter. You get one of the advantages of having goats, and you bring them into, especially into an area like Seattle or Bellevue, or you're in a city location, people notice. So, and especially when I first did it, like I said, about 8, 9 years ago, no, hardly anyone else was doing that, and so you got a lot of media. You got on the TV, you got on the radio, you got in the newspaper. So when you're out there trying to to address that, we think of marketing. I can never afford to pay for that kind of media coverage. So how can you work with a reporter or something to create an opportunity? If marketing is your weak link, is to create an opportunity out there to earn that media, provide them a good story, or like April talking about, the heritage pigs and being using that. I can't think of it right now. The certification that you got, the animal welfare certification, and using that as a story to tell people about how you manage animals. Something to that effect, or you're relating to, providing them a good story about how that people are interested in, and that's you can earn that media, which you could never can afford to really pay for. Because you can advertise in the print media, but it can be very expensive. And with my market, I kind of operate over the whole state, so I do some print media marketing, but it's very targeted. So I spend very limited money on that because the marginal reaction is pretty low. Because it's better for me to get more presence on the website and to try to use social media, my time in that to drive it to the website. So it's kind of when you're evaluating alternatives and trying to look at how you can use those dollars, how you can best invest those dollars. It's limited dollars you have to get the biggest bang for the dollar of time invested, and that's where the marginal reaction comes in to help you to do that. And the weak link also can be, we kind of applied it to a business or an enterprise. You can also apply that to an individual. And I'll just kind of go back to when I was first beginning to, I was working for the federal government, and I definitely was not very happy with that job I was working on. So if you're looking at this as a change or improvement, you're looking for a change, you're looking at ways of, I wasn't very happy with the job. My wife I was coming home, and I said I was coming home grumpy, so I wasn't really working well for home environment as well. So trying to figure out, okay, what do I do to create a new, find a new job or find a new business that would create, that holistic context that Sue and I developed together. So I went, the first thing, development was to go look at the other operations that were doing these weed management projects. I happened to be lucky at that time to be involved in a project with WSU that had an individual coming from California and Wyoming that were using similar types of animals for vegetation management. So I got familiar with, I actually went down there and developed more skills, went to a workshop, developed more skills, and helped me turn that into actually a viable business. And in marketing also, being able to communicate well with the product that you have. That is one aspect. I know when I first started out, I was not very good at communicating and not very good necessarily able to be clear about what I was trying to sell to individuals. And so that was the skills that we had to work on. I had to work on to develop those interpersonal skills to be confident that the product that I had and that I could do a good job of marketing it. And that's where, if you're really passionate about, we got a product or you're really doing something that, the quality of life is helping within the holistic context that you really want to do, that makes that passion make it much more easy to sell that product because you have passion. I have a lot of passion about doing that.